Hey Indie Game Warriors, welcome back to I Dream of Indie. This is Ole Gamer Joe coming at you with another review today as we look at one I've been excited about for quite a while actually, Bounty Battle for Steam PC. This game will also be releasing on the Nintendo Switch, the Xbox One, and the PlayStation 4 as of September 10th of 2020. It's a fighting game indie character mashup, so of course I'm excited. I had to have it here at the channel. The game will normally be priced at $24.99. It looks like there's a little bit of a discount, at least on the Nintendo Switch version at the time of this review. That will bring it down to $19.99. The developer on this title was Dark Screen Games, and it was published by Merge Games, and I have to say that my excitement was quickly evaporated once I played a few minutes of this one. In Bounty Battle, there isn't really much of an explanation at all here for why these characters got together. The developer states that huge vortexes from unknown origins have opened up and allowed them all to enter one giant universe. Now they're battling because they have bounties placed on them to control that universe. It doesn't really make any sense. I don't know if there was a cohesive idea here, but whatever. The indie characters have all joined together. It's a dream come true, right? But not really, because this game does not play well whatsoever. Alright, first I'll touch on the good part of this game, though. It's the fact that all of these characters are in fact in one game. That's pretty neat, despite the fairly wonky story explanation. You have characters from Guacamelee, you have Dead Cells represented here, Awesome Nuts, Owlboy, Axiom Verge, Death's Gambit, tons of great indie games put on display here. If only they had been put into a better game together. While the developer states that they were inspired by some great fighting games, including Skullgirls and Street Fighter, just to name a few of them, unfortunately, this game doesn't feel anything like those games in almost any real way whatsoever. This is a very broken feeling game that does not have any cohesion or any fluidity to its combat. I'm going to try to explain this combat system the best I can here. For one, you have a life bar, as you would expect, and as it gets lower, you take more damage. Your character will eventually begin to glitch out a bit. I don't know exactly why they went with this idea, but they did. Your character starts to glitch the lower your health drops. As you dish damage out or deal with enemies, there's only a few game modes in this game, which I'll get into a little bit later, you eventually will earn some bounty points. These points serve two purposes, it seems. You can either unlock a minion who will join you in combat and doesn't really seem to do all that much, or they can be used to unlock additional attacks for your character. Again, this is all a little bit confusing, but I think the idea is that this bounty character will allow you to earn a bigger bonus the longer they are engaged in combat. Outside of that, you have pretty standard movement here, including the ability to jump and double jump if you so wish, and you can perform some air attacks as well as standard ground attacks. There's no outright blocking in this game, but you can do a little bit of a back step by pressing the B button if you are using an Xbox controller as I was, and this will allow you to dodge backwards a little bit, but it's not extremely effective, and I found myself not even utilizing it all that much. Slightly more effective is a roll. If you're moving forward, you'll be able to press that same button and do a roll forward or backwards, and that's a little more useful in dodging enemy attacks and getting out of the way. But wait, there's more, because pressing up and pressing the B button is a teleport of sorts, which basically makes you kinda teleport, but not really. You don't go behind your opponent. It's a little bit weird. I wasn't a big fan of using this mechanic either. Whichever of these mechanics you decide to use, if any of them, you have an additional energy meter underneath your health bar, and it does consume a bit of that as you dodge and do the other things such as teleporting. One concept that I did think was a little bit neat and interesting at least was the fact that if you spam out a certain attack, you will lose those bounty points that are incentive to get that character back in. Again, that character's not all that helpful, but kind of a neat concept here, just not fully fleshed out. There are a few other mechanics, including ultimate attacks, but each character more or less will play the same. They do have unique abilities for those characters, but still, the real problem with this game is none of it feels fluid, and it doesn't feel like it's fun at all. That's really the key here. This game does not feel fun. The battles just sound, look, and feel so lifeless. There's no emotion out of these characters, despite the fact that they have great pedigrees behind them. These are some iconic indie characters that just seem to go to waste. None of their abilities really pop out to you. The combat is sluggish and just boring. This game has both opened and closed battlefields, so it's kind of a mix of trying to be Smash Brothers, but also just trying to be a standard fighting game, and none of it works. As far as gameplay modes, there's really not many here, to be honest with you. You have a few, including a tournament, story-like mode. You also have a versus mode if you want to go against up to 4 players. To be fair, this game does include 4-player co-op locally. There's a challenge mode, which is just basically fighting enemies. There's no real challenges that I came across, at least I didn't go too far into it, but just more of the boring combat. And then you have a tutorial and you have the training room to kind of mess around with the abilities and try to get the hang of things. But that's really it. There's no online features whatsoever. It's just really empty. Graphically, you would think this developer had so much to work with all these great characters and could recreate some of their levels, and some of their levels are represented here, but not particularly well. You have some N64 level of backgrounds here with some really washed out textures. Most of these levels are really bland and boring. You'll see a lot of them on repeat over and over again, and they're just not exciting. That's kind of the theme of this game. There's no excitement for something that should be really exciting. Even the soundtrack, which you would think would be great, is merely okay. They don't really take advantage of the characters that they have in this game. Again, the remixes aren't particularly interesting. The songs are just kind of flat and boring. Man, this game really misses the mark in presentation, and it has a lot of great sources here to use. Bounty Battle may feature 30 iconic indie characters, but all of their soul and life has been sucked dry in this really poor combat system. The characters and worlds that are represented in this game deserve so much better. What a disappointment, what a letdown. This one just feels like a kick in the nuts. So will you be checking out Bounty Battle? Let us know in the comments section below, and if you have enjoyed our coverage today, consider hitting the subscribe button to help us bring a voice to the voiceless ones in gaming. There's a ton of other ways that you can support I Dream of Indie down in the description box below. That includes our new merchandise store as well as becoming a member. However you end up supporting us, we thank you so much.